one hard thing that I note about the multiple tragedies I spent in my life, from the big to the small, is that at some point you stop feeling important. At least for me, I I've survived so many things, like secret battles that others don't know, and you start to get and develop like a mentality. You're like, hey, this thing could have really harmed me. This thing could have really been my end, and it didn't. And it makes you feel like you're important. But then you walk around with self confidence and a feeling of importance. But one of the biggest struggles is that do people recognize your importance? Like when I speak about not only getting shot, but how I survived and I how impacted every aspect of my life and the things before that leading up to the event, and my ability to process that and then make good estimates on my future life, on the quality of life, my ability to do something. And I make pretty solid estimates, but that's not proof or evidence for enough people. Like it's a neat trick, but if I don't go into I don't know, if I don't provide the documented um, education, the credentials, it's just me saying that I'm good at that. I can be charismatic. I can show other individuals that I am capable of being a good talker, a good presenter, a a well-adjusted figure. But I have to provide so much. Like I have to give so much, and I have to crawl and eventually I believe I'll make it. But at that point, do I feel like it's worth it? Like every and like not only do I have to go with the experience, um, come with the knowledge and the education on how to heal from that experience, and then become a, a decent, credible in a decent way that society has deemed acceptable and tolerable, then present onto you the information. I could see why people go into corruption because it feels like that's a lot more on my side than it is any other side. Like I see why politicians can fall to it because there's no real advantage. There's no guarantee that if you actually um, crawl your way up, that the people are going to be behind you. That's why ethically it doesn't really make a lot of sense that no, it makes sense why people get mad, but I can see exactly why corruption exists because it's just there isn't really much benefit outside of corruption. If you have only two options where it's like it's honest work and we're going to overwork you and we're going to treat you bad and we're going to say bad things about you, most people aren't going to go that route. Yes, there is always going to be that abdominal feeling of doing what is right because it's right. But I think that's also short sighted. I think that it views that as, yes, it's right, but for the wrong reasons. As the same of being the right person in the right position and looking at someone uh, and saying, you know what, I'm going to become corrupt. I think oddly, no, I don't think it oddly enough. I think that's the correct decision. I think going into those places, becoming a politician, becoming corrupt is the right way because that is what it's leading up to. And someone tells you, yeah, that's why I did it. That's how it came to be. That's why I became corrupt. Look at how the game is played. This is the only way to actually feel some sort of comfort and live your life in something that doesn't feel like absolute misery. Yes, I'm adding to the problem, but no one has produced a viable solution. And I have to continue to do more work to then limit myself. Who wants to limit themselves? Who who among us is really like raving to be limited? Like, yes, it can be if you've been high too long, if you're eventually you want to escape, but at that point that's part of your consequences. You never really set a barrier to fall down or come down from that high place, um, or you didn't expect to live that long, so or you just become delusional. So it's no one really has made a viable way to come down because there's so many ways to come down. But usually the ways are just a crash and burn. There's no gliding. There's no rehabilitation. There's no, you know what, I don't want to continue to do this. This is my way out. Every time you see a politician, they have to either retire in good grace or in bad grace, you know, or in bad faith. That's the only times that they get to come down. You can't really note who actually positively could, like, hey, I no longer want to do this and I can feel safe to go back into regular life. It's because there's no way to actually do it. It is for the people to make a way that says, you know what, I don't like this guy or I didn't like his policies, but there's a way that he can come and still feel protected. Yeah, it puts a lot more pressure on the people. It says, oh, what more can I take? What more should be on the people? But it really says um, it says more about the people because it's like we do functionally have the ability to do that. Though it's difficult. It's like we keep having to make the first move. But so what? It doesn't matter if the end result is what we actually want as a society. It's like, what can we as the people functionally do? I think that it's wrong to go and do something right for the wrong reasons. If I went and became a politician and I didn't become corrupt, that sets a standard for someone to look at me and accept and tolerate the abuse of the people, and refusing them lift themselves up to some sort of regard to actually hold me accountable. You want me to People want this like learned helplessness. They want to continue to learn helplessness so then they don't have to do things themselves. They refuse, adamantly refuse to go, let's hold this guy accountable. Let's go hold these people accountable. We're going to figure it out. We're going to commune together. We're going to make sure. It's like, no. They much rather send somebody there to do their bidding and then gets mad when the person doesn't do it. Because, like, what's the consequence? I say that watch them spend the money, enjoy they have to play the game. They have to, and that's the justification that they use. That if I got to do the work, I get the money, I get to spend it, and whatever's left, you get to have. I don't think it's really great to care for the people. Like, not, there are people that truly can't or won't understand the game of politics in that regard because like they're focused on their career and their goals. And I'm like, yeah, that's great. But to those that are aware, it is your job and duty and responsibility to cover those that can't, that are um, they are focused on their position in living. It is for the intellectual. It's the for the business venture. It is for the humanitarian. It is for the I say the bleeding heart, the empathy to make sure that it goes and it checks every aspect and compartment to clean, to check every corner, to do its due diligence, even if it's one wave, and then return and then disappear. Your job is not to do this for all eternity. or maybe it is, maybe for your life. But essentially, no one is doing the checks. No one is really willing to do the job to actually clean up. More so, I find that it's usually typically one individual that is supposed to be the omnipotent, the one central of all components. But when that person cannot fulfill all the jobs or duties, or reach every crevice and canvas when they do a general job, like even if one were to reach 90% of the body and that's seen as good, I will say to the 10% that didn't get reached, they will become resentful to that being. Why didn't you start with me? Why did you start there? Why we're gonna make our own? Clearly, everyone else is happy, but I'm not happy. They become resentful. They even destroy things themselves, and it's like rightfully so. I say that there comes a point with ethics where you have to, or I won't say have to again, where at least you kind of recognize this happened for a reason. What reason did it happen? Just because I don't like the reason that it happened or the outcome does not mean that I truly am. I am simply um, a victim of it. Maybe instead of just viewing it as a victim, view it as a participant, view it as a co conspirator. I say to myself, if I got rich, would I really change the world? What would I even do? I ask myself. I say that if I won various accounts of money, do you think that I know for myself that I would not clean up for multiple reasons? I would not know where to start. Money is just resource. After I've completed all my resources for myself, how am I going to be sure that someone is not going to try to harm me? I have to put the protections. I have to be aware. The road to hell is paved with good intentions. So if I'm like, oh, I bought a house, I used to be poor. Well, I'm no longer poor. Okay, I'm going to try to help these people. Okay, these people told this person. Now this person has told this person. This person has told this person. Everyone's coming to me. People are giving me their sob stories and expecting me to be the Messiah. I'm like, I don't have enough for all of you. And even if I just chose the most dire of the situations, what if it doesn't fix it? What if I don't get anything back? What if, hey, I've done too many dire things? Someone's going to have to give a return on it. What if I help someone and they become, or they've done something terrible to another? See, it's thoughts that go into other thoughts. You're not sure what to really do. And even if you're okay, remove that, you make good decisions, you help a small number of people. What are you going to do? The money will one day dry out. You have to invest. What do you invest in? Are you going to invest in things that you surely know will fail? Would you even be aware of what the end game really is for a lot of these companies? Like what's actually, something that can consciously by the human mind make a good estimate. Yeah, eventually we might switch to all electric cars, and we might have better technologies to make renewable energy. But to the foreseeable future, we don't have a good correlation. That might be 30 years down the line. That sounds like a relatively short span in human evolution, but 30 years is a long time. If I sentenced you to 30 years in jail, I guarantee you're not going to be like to the span of the human. You're going to cry. At least I would cry. I kind of just realized it's like if I can guarantee you 20 years of great living, good food, clean water, and time. I bet that just like if you guarantee that, individuals can grow smart and strong and grow into spaces so that they may be able to continue, even if it's not at that peak, can continue to be in those great spaces. Because people are used to familiarity. They're used to those that in those high places. They can create friends, they can create positions, they can phone it in. You know, even name brand can be so beneficial. Like if they known you for 20 years to pay your bills on time, the 21st year might not be that different. Now maybe on the 25th year they start getting a little shaky when you're not paying, but a name can be important. It can change the outcome of your life. Now, I'm not advocating for malicious and dastardly deeds, but I feel like so many people paint it as they are a good people. I think that's where a lot of things dilute. Are you a good person because you've done nothing? Are you truly a good person because you haven't really taken the time to do an action or a thought? Are you a good person because you've never picked up a gun or harmed a person? Does that mean you're good? Like, if I said, hey, you're the only person that could stop the Klan and you decide to do nothing because it harms no one, and you say even the Klan are people, but the Klan has historically, you know, harmed a lot of people. It's when you pick and choose. Even when you pick and choose to be used. How many military members, how many people have chose to be soldiers for an army that they know will cast them to do wicked deeds, to say and claim that their soul was in someone else's keep? How many people will sentence a man to jail knowing that the evidence might be a farce, even though they know that the man had done it? Is if you can see yourself breaking the law, if you could see yourself bending the law to procure justice, how well are those laws even in place? Some would say we should change it or improve it, but what if the laws have not been improved in years? What if the steps to change it are so vastly difficult and outside the realm of the lowest intelligent being tolerant of the society? That it doesn't show that there's specialists in society that you have to go to operate within society. That sounds like a failure of society to me. Like being so smart, being so being young, smart, savvy, able to maneuver through it, knowing and combing through tons of information to find loopholes and and to create wealth and position, even jobs in that. That doesn't show to me as an advanced society. For society's advancement is advancing what is already simple, to do just more of the same thing. But this is not simple. This doesn't show a simplicity. It doesn't show performance. If there are plenty in the society that are homeless and sick, mentally ill is still ill. I would say that that's a strange byproduct of progression. I know that what I'm speaking is probably not something new, but I think that it really just shows what is peak performance. Why such outrage? Such and you know what? I think that it's again good. I think it's good because like if we're going to keep diluting and saying, hey, We just need one change, and it'll fix everything. Then I think that you're just as wicked as every other being. For one change, is that going to be the significant change that is going to balance and make peace, or is it simply something that you say would make it just that much more tolerant and easy for you to live in it? Like for me, I can think of hundreds of changes that would need to be done, and I can even uh, in my own mind see how it's not going to be that quick, how I probably won't see it. No, yeah, probably won't see it in my lifetime. That these fixes that it would actually slow everything down. I'm aware of that. That some things I cannot adequately say, hey, this is something that we can just quickly install and people are going to agree with it, and over time society will become great. No, that it will have to be slow because we have to go all the way back to the points where we were stagnant. Kind of like going into the recess of our mind and viewing an injury that we had when we were a child and correcting that. It's if you ask yourself if you could go back to any point in time and effectively change anything about your life, I think that that will that really shows. Like I don't think it's a negative thing. I think that the perception though can do negative damage. That means that you think that something is wrong, something that you had could have improved your life, and what that life would be drastically. And maybe you're right. You would live the life that you had always envisioned, but you don't think about the life that that person has always envisioned. I think that at some point, does the version of you in the most optimum version of their life view their own life and say, is there an optimum version of that? At least I like to think that there is no optimum version, that either there is just the most optimum or none at all, that this is the only life that ever is and ever was and ever known, that it was the only way it would ever be. Like, out of the possible conclusions, if one were to go back to fix one thing, then it would be reasonable to say that one would go back and fix everything. And to fix everything is to mean that there's no problems. For no problems, it would be nothing. I think nothing holds all the possibilities, ergo death. But life really just holds one. Life is just this one possibility, this streamline where it's just a storyline, that it's always going to go this way no matter what. Like bad or good, it's always going to be this way because in order to think of any possibilities, to think of any changes or removals, you would have to go through the initial event in the first place. Like you can't have a parody without the original ever happening. And I think that they can't coincide. Like I think that a thought like the multiverse, it does exist, but more in the afterlife kind of concept, or when someone is dead, or if it was in this time, if it was both coinciding while you're alive, well then one would just do it, one would make it, and they would interact with others of the multiverse. But that would then be its own closed off branch, because then it would still need the initial storyline. It would still need the actual existence. You cannot really mess with the main storyline, the original linear line. And I say linear in a very loose kind of way, where it seems like it goes straight, but honestly, it just curves into a circle, and we're just in it until we just kind of disband. I I would even think that when you go into this multiversal line, that the afterworld or the afterlife, it doesn't like you cannot really even imagine meeting your relatives in the same way. For if you go back in time or go to the actual events where you go see your grandparents or parents, it would just be you revisiting the linear storyline. So there's not a reason to make a multiverse. It would just be you already living that circle of life. So you just kind of go back, just relive that part until you inevitably perish again. But if you were to say, I want to be conscious and aware of my 28-year-old self with my childlike self, well then that's where a multiverse, that's where heaven, that's where all your imagination and dreams really come forth, because you have no uh, that is a whole diversion. That's something that would change a lot of everything. It would even pose more philosophical questions that would go, if this version of you remains, where did it come from? Where did it go? It asks, do you know the end? Did you know that you have passed away? Does this version of you age the same? What does it mean to age? It goes further into the lines of questioning. What do you actually know? And it still would need to be with the linear storyline, the main one. So main timeline, everything else is a parody or a different timeline that can go into other timelines. But this one is the only one that we'll ever know and exist in. Even there, I speculate that there are timelines that follow a different set of rules, and can harbor a whole different person, but it doesn't really, like, no, none of us would ever even want to go there to travel it. Maybe you would think just one. No, none of us, because like it's so foreign that and trying to comprehend it, it doesn't really show any amusement. There's nothing to really gain, no new information. Like I don't. It's the concept is so out there that it's like I can't even make a reference to really understand it. It's like nothing. What is there? What is that? It doesn't even pose disgust or issues. It's just something else. So it doesn't even matter to pay attention to. Dreams that we have never even thought to dream. I know it sounds weird, maybe. Or maybe someone has already said this before. I don't know. But I guess, like, I pose it because I think that we don't look at the grander scheme of these things. I think we look at things in a very, this is good, this is bad. But suffering in that becomes a sense of boredom, where we're trying to pose it as something positive and negative, even though I know I keep using the same kind of words. But I think it's fairly positive. It keeps things going. That if do you truly want to end corruption, or do you want to end the pain that you are feeling? For those are two different wishes. I think that people pray to have those wishes ended, or to have their wishes granted, but they themselves do not know what they're wishing for. They're asking for wishes to be answered, and if they are answered, they are unaware that it's even been answered because that's not what they're truly wishing for. I think that I want to grow intelligent enough to be able to comprehend my wishes, but at that point, I'd most likely be dead already. Maybe that's when I would become smart enough to realize what I wished for was was just that. Or maybe I am already aware, but not aware that I'm aware. Or maybe I'm aware that I'm unaware that I'm aware. And again, it goes into cycles of madness. But I sometimes I even wish for something, and then years later wish for the opposite. So which wish gets answered? The wish that, hey, I wish that this never happened 10 or 20 years in the future, or the wish that it does happen? Or does it happen until I say I wish it didn't happen, and then does it cut it off? See, there's, the grandfather paradox, but I think that the truth is that none of the wishes can be granted at all. I think that it just is, and it's fascinating that God doesn't answer it, because if it answered it, it would it would be the worst thing that it can do, because it has to play out the way that it does. That I, as an agnostic man, do not call to a higher power, not because I dislike the higher power's ability. I note that it is not yet ready to be called upon. For a higher power can be called upon after I have perished. That is the position. Like, hey, like instead of, I think it's the ultimate form of parenting to let you grow up and then become an old man to then be a child. The first life is just like, here's the tutorial, and then you realize, okay, this is the games, this is the ramifications, this is what I can or can't do, this is what I should or shouldn't do, or what I perceive as such. To give yourself your own rules, and what you feel like is great or not. That I think that in that way, it relieves any sort of it gives you all the feelings, anger and pain and sadness, but also all the joy that it wasn't worthless. Sometimes I think about going to see my grandfather, but the truth is, the person that I asked to meet is not the person I really want to meet. If I see my grandfather, I would see a man who was abused and treated poorly in a society that was not just, that was not fair. If I had met him and told him about the things that I had done and trying to make it fair, he would probably discourage me as such, or maybe, become fearful of my life, that my life would get taken, and tell me the opposite. Even though I am doing it to honor a legacy, I realize that I can't do it to honor his legacy. I have to do it for me. I have to be selfish, because it's not for him, it is for me. I want to raise children in that time, in that place, that view themselves and do things selfishly as well. Like, I say that it is the most selfish thing to put another in a position to give them twice the resources and only one set of hands. It's like giving a kid like 7 popsicles in both hands and expecting them to eat them all. You're thinking, oh, I'm doing a great thing. I give them exactly what they wanted and what they asked for. Yeah, they could try, but they're going to utterly fail. Like even if they're really fast and they get one hand, they can the other hand it melts as a single drop of the popsicle slips onto the hand or onto the ground. They have failed. They did not enjoy all of the treat. Like one drop will lead to 1,000 because you had failed them. You didn't give them a proper tools or understanding. The heck, they would have probably said, "Yeah, just give me one at a time." Now, if you were doing that to teach them a lesson, even that you had still failed. Like, couldn't you just have done that with one extra one? Couldn't you have just done that with two? It is the efficiency in teaching people their failures that also says the intelligence of a man or a person. Um, that I think that it is easy to only speak of failure, but how well are you, like, when you know that someone's going to fail, do you know what to say after they have failed to keep them going? Are you going to say the same speech? Some can stick on a static line, others can flow. And I feel like I'm a person that can flow as well, but also say things that are static. It just really depends. And I guess all of this just to be said, I I find myself in this contradiction point, unsure if I want fame or wealth or just comfort. Like I know that I want comfort. I know that I want comfort. The comfort is to choose hardship. I want to be able to say, I want to go camping. Camping is hard. Eating the food, putting yourself in nature and danger with mosquitoes and bugs, but I want to choose. I feel like that's the greatest thing that I could do, to choose when I feel uncomfortable. I think that a person forced into hardship doesn't learn anything. A person forced to go and deal with great pains and ailments, they're not they're not any more intelligent or better off. As I've suffered with my leg pain, it did not make me a better man. It was just suffering. For is what I had done in my free time. Because like it wasn't the pain, the leg pain that had improved anything. It was the access to financial benefits, medical benefits. It was my ability to even see my own weaknesses that improved my situation. The leg pain was just something that was burdensome, that had made me suffer. That if I were given the same things without the leg pain, I would have been far more improved, regulated, and possibly more charismatic. I guess that even my I say the worst thing that had happened when getting shot was it made me um, it made me scared. It made me both become content with death and vividly afraid. As before, I was kind of in a weird state, not really denying it, but not really paying attention to it. I think that's the best state to kind of be in, where it's like I don't want to notice it. I'm aware of it, but I don't know where it is. Kind of leaving my head scratching and wondering, but and sometimes even having a bit of fear, but also a a healthy dose of humor, of confusion, of shock. But like ever since I had almost died, I've been hyper aware. I've been very aware to the point where I become acceptant, staring it in the face, in the abyss. I'd become one of the few selected to be that strong, but it doesn't do me any service. It sounds great, right? To not really be as afraid of death, but it's a bit empty. It's like always having a conversation, always having a witty joke. It has made you so advanced, and at a time when you should be primitive. You ask yourself, who are you? You take this away, and it's knowing the end. It is just um, reading the middle pages or the end chapter of a book, and then going back to the beginning or middle or whatever. Realizing how long your pages are, counting every page until you get to the point where you've already read. It's exhausting. At least the thing that I ask for is a distraction. That's why I want to become rich. I want a distraction. I want the story to be so good that it feels as if, all right, I know how it ends, but the book is still good. It's just like, in a way, it's like, oh, I forgot. When did I read these words before? I want to extend the pages of the book so to the point where it's like, oh, now it all makes sense. Now it's a little bit more exciting. Yeah. But I just don't know how to do it. I keep waiting and waiting and wanting. I just, I see things that are so good and so fun, but it feels like it's way too much work. It's way too much. It's not that I don't want to go. I don't want to go the corruption route. I don't want to do it. I don't want to become a politician. I don't want to really do anything. I've always kind of been that same way, where I just don't want to do it. Not because I'm adverse to it, but because like I fear it becoming that very same thing to lead me back into this dread and boredom. I feel myself more exciting, more happy. This is miserable. I feel like I'm not truly in a position or game that is truly where I want to be. That if I could, if I could, I would, be a bit more exciting, more humorous, take things a little bit more lighthearted. I would sit there on comfortable furniture. I would drink decent tea. And I would just have mild conversation. Just a bit more of what I already have. And then if I decide, I do something else. But I want to see how long I can go finding the thing that amuses me. I know what furious amounts of pain feel like, copious amounts, being unsure, uncertain. I, I felt great joy, like when my muscles relax, when I work out in a very great way. So I'm like, I'm certain. I'm like, if I could just get more of the goodness, what can I become? What is awaiting for me, unlocking my full potential? I want to look good when I'm old. The reason why, I think it would be great for society. So I can say indefinitely, it was this and this and this, and these are the things that I have done. I look at the other old people, I look at old people that tell their secrets and they say the same things or similar things. They say, oh, I smoke and I eat meat and I just, but they just so happen to live. But their brains feel so muddied that I almost go, yes, their body is still physically here, but that's just a game of the lottery. Does that mean that they were the most competent or the best looking? I don't want to just simply be alive. I want to be alive with my wits. I want to be alive with my looks, with all the things that I was born with intact. And I would want to die with such that I don't think that they were the smartest. I think that they were just simply those that did not think of death. For me, if I no longer could be and have all the things that I was born with, or could at least tolerate, be in some sort of to be content with what I have, then I don't want to live. That I would then want to go to that alternate state and then choose to spend the rest of the days with my leg or whatever does not work. I think even my relationship with my girlfriend, I think that one day I would like to know um, life, life without her, to see how good I had it, to see how good it like my life would be without her, and just see the tragedy, the pains, the thoughts, the years that I would spend spiraling. Without her, I know that I would have kept spiraling, kept tail winning, and maybe, and I feel very certain about this. I don't think I would have made it as long. I still don't know how long I'll have to live this life, but I know that if I didn't have her, then it would have been more of a guarantee. I think that one would have to know to answer all those questions. You think about, and I think that truly what you think most. What would your life be with this person? What would your life be with that person? What would life be if God had answered your prayer at that time? If every single time you asked to win the lottery, the specific lottery in that specific way, what would you get? And just watch how it falls. Maybe you did exactly what you prayed for. And how many things would have enacted, replicating it in the exact same way, in the time, in the position, because it would. How many of your outcomes would have led to your death? How many would led to a good life? That I truly want to see it. I think it's far more interesting to, but I have to live life currently. That is what I realize. That I have a taste for life. No longer do I want to just sit there and like, if this is the main life, then I'm trying to live it the best way, to gain the most morals, the most ethics, so I can ask good questions. That's fundamentally what I am trying to do, to ask the questions that truly plague me. What are a list of good questions? For what's the afterlife if you said, what would it be if I had more beer and more money? And then basically you're just like sitting there, what would life be if I just looked 25 for the rest of my life in the entirety? And they get exactly what they want. Just small scales on the afterlife. It would then become hell. I think even that, they would come to realize how boring or mediocre. But they have no questions to ask deeper. And I think it would send them back into viewing this life again. I guess for me, I want to view this life a few times, fewer than most, for I wouldn't need to view it over and over and over again as others may, to then develop and ask themselves these questions. I think that I can view life. On my first go ahead, I could catch things that others did not see the first time, but not just seeing things of others, of myself. I think that a second go around would be more in viewing others' lives. I think that they would view themselves and realize how shallow that they really were, how surface level that their life really had become, how they didn't really travel or do anything. They didn't really see anything or want anything, and how angry they got because of just how boring it would be. That's what I view most people's lives. It's boring. It's trivial. I won't say trivial in the sense that they don't do anything for society, but I think that it's filler, it's padding, that they could walk around and just not really think, not really experience anything. That they actually end up hurting themselves just to feel something, and that being scary, and just how they have to develop. Because like I think that most part, it's like even people watching us, if you were to think of it in a spiritual way as someone viewing down to us, I don't believe that they're the omnipotent. I think that even those who watch us as, you could say, the ancestors or even predecessors are not of omnipotence, but of curiosity themselves. I would think that they would watch us and and want to be entertained by us as as human zoos. I would look down and say, "Look at that one. Why is he doing what he's doing?" I think that they wouldn't even speak languages like us. For how many? Like maybe they would speak the language that they remember, but I think that it would go into mistranslation a lot. Like, oh, this is the sound that they're making, but they can't really comprehend. Cause like, could you imagine not really speaking a different dialect from the language that you known in the small region? Like even when I study abroad, I realize that even though we speak the same language, I sometimes do not understand what they're getting at, and it completely, you know, jars my brain. So someone who's never studied or traveled or been anywhere trying to comprehend anyone else, like heck, if you've never interacted with anyone else, how would you know if you don't gain friends or um, acquaintances that are willing to help you in this life? Why would they help you in the afterlife when they know that there's no um, incentive? You can't harm me anymore. You can't engage with me anymore. That people are more willing to help those that they had seen as that shared commonalities. But a closed-minded mindset just makes more closed-minded mindsets. It's one thing to be closed-minded by someone's actions. You can feel a sense of sympathy or empathy. You can even tell a potential, especially as time goes on, because there's a level of curiosity that engages the mind of individuals as they grow. But for for individuals that constantly seek only validation within their own spots and realms, that they become stale. Like that's all I can really think of. They can't really grow um, into a person or ethical being. They're always going to follow their base instinct, a racist depraved, discriminatory being. And they're going to be their own worst nightmare. Even if they decide to cast that away, much more of a difficulty because they cannot gauge who is actually going to be a fruitful ally and who would turn their back to them. Anyone that would actually be of use may have their hands filled with others that they deemed already good. So they would have to wait in the back of the line, waiting for what feels like eons, patiently waiting for that person to come and give them the information. And once they finally do get the information, they won't give the information to those that aren't willing to wait, because it's the very essence of waiting and the position that would make them realize, wow, I've been a terrible person. They're gonna be like, and if I just give this person this information, they won't even comprehend it. They will then just tell everyone this, but then it would go into nothing anyway. That it's the pain and the patience that hey, you're going to have to figure this out. You're going to have to wait on those that you've harmed, those that actually know. You're going to have to wait to learn. Well, here, instant gratification is treated, but it is only, it is made because we live in a finite world. Where the other world, it's infinite. There's no use for any information. There's no sexual gratification other than the one that they know lives within the finite world, which does still intrigue people because I feel like there will be a remembrance of sexual desire. There will be a remembrance of food and water and drink. Like, there's a reason why we feel this, but there will be a day where we don't feel this and we desire those feelings, but in good, beneficial positions. As when you can think in a calm mind does not mean that you're unaware that something is still pleasurable. Kind of like the reason why when we eat, we still want to secure food for later because we know we'll get hungry again. This is just a more long in between of it, where we say, I want to do something. Right now, I'm not bored, but I will get bored. So when I get bored, what is something interesting to do? And at least that's what I believe. That yes, you would probably want to involve yourself with old family members and relatives, but you would realize that you would have to actually know who these people are in larger spans than just the simple we were relatives for that short while. And I doubt that you would actually want to be with close relatives that early on. I think because like knowing and understanding your close relatives and all their life will still kind of be a bit jarring. Because like if you're not close, like you've seen them naked and stuff, watching their old life and then realizing that you're seeing them in vulnerable positions and weird positions and growing in love would make you, I think, would make anyone feel a bit awkward. Like, I'm not ready to be that close yet. I would need to space that out. Like, I think I could stomach watching a great grandfather or grandmother versus watching my mother give birth. That's a lot of generational space. Like I could see the first humans giving birth, and I don't really think anything of it because the DNA, the bond, it's like whatever. But like if you shorten that length to see it, you're going to kind of be disgusted, which I think you should. And I think that it even shows the parallels of why one should or shouldn't um, be in such close proximity, where someone should lie in that close proximity, what that really entails. Um, I feel like in the view of the afterlife, or in this realm, um, you're going to get bored a lot. Like there's going to be a lot of people that are sitting there, and that's why cults are boring. Cults and hierarchies, because they're going to be a bit more of the same thing. That it's like, if you want, you're going to want to be the highest of the position. That's what sucks about like anything. You're going to want to do and be the best at everything. So everyone's going to rush to be, I want to be a 5-star general. And then they're going to live that life and they'll be like, that's crazy. Yeah, wow, great time. And then they're going to be like, okay, now I want to be a Navy SEAL. And I'm going to be the coolest Navy SEAL. Great. I'm going to be the best chef. And so on and so forth. But then you're going to get so used to being the greatest, or and see repeated patterns, and even if it's like good or nice, and you know how it ends, it's like, I was the greatest, I was the greatest. Yeah, you realize that it's also semantics, and it's just like you start to realize your view of the greatest is the most acknowledged, or in a historical pattern, and it'll be like, well, that's not my greatest, and it's this one. And then it's like, more times or not, it's just going to be a lot of like, okay, waiting, build up. Okay, this is the moment, and this person's overhyping it. This person's really laying it on thick. This person just willing to sell out his friends, or make movie deals, but is that really the greatest? So then you would have to look at all the people that had made them, and positions, and people that walked over them, and it's yeah, sure, it's going to be interesting to see their lives, but you're going to also know that they're not going to get justice, and it won't make you feel good, and that's really where um, society is poignant and at its best and worst, because like you're always going to experience a level of injustice. And injustice somewhere is an injustice everywhere. And you know that continual point of injustice will make you want to say, when was there a time where people actually got adequately praised or acknowledged for their work, or reasonably compromised, uh, compensated, sorry. But if you jump all the way to that, there's a level of dissatisfaction, because you want to see, is there a time where people are actually like acknowledged? When was this person acknowledged? How could this person, where did their legacy go on? Did their children know? Is there some way that they, and I feel like possibly, probably, more than likely, all of it has an intersecting point. So you want to see how it really goes. And even if nobody in that realm, or the human realm, really knows it, then you kind of seek out those two individuals and say, hey, who are you? Who are you? Did you ever get peace? Did you guys ever work out? If no, then can you get them to work it out? If yes, what is the story behind that? So stories make more stories, even if it's in the afterlife. It always seems to intersect. But I'll finish it with this. Religious cults and religious fanatics will be some of the most boring of the life. Like, it just doesn't really seem like it would be that fun. At first, you would think, oh, you're in this hierarchy, but it just feels like a lot of footwork to feel confident about something that it's like, right or wrong. It's like, you're so certain. Even if you're certain, you're absolute guaranteed certain. It just, I guess it takes all the fun away from it. That's what I've always noticed. That it's just like, oh, I'm gonna be saved. Okay, it's like you, that's it. You're beating the game, and you're just waiting to die at that point. And it's just like you could tell like people go into more and more madness and doing things and being inconsiderate, and it just like at some point you just like, what it's more fun to watch them grow and then you know remove themselves as they eventually like I think in this other world will like come to grips with like what they were doing and like genuinely try to make amends, but how they do so, like those people, I think the religious people are the ones that are the most prolific in watching others. Like that's why you feel this Holy Spirit, because yes, I think that viewing the religious is it's kind of like by their action, like they cause more people to become religious and then not, and it's like you're not really sure what to do. For like people will see them, like non-religious people will see them and then become religious, and it's like, is it good? Is it bad? Because like it's not bad to be religious or to come to a belief. I think it's bad to come to a belief um, based on misconception and to fuel your ego for narcissism. That people can like you might be right, but that doesn't call for your control over people. Like people keep trying to make it sound like it's a good thing. Like I found the Lord and I want to speak it to others. That's fine. But like going to places that um, like to not truly say like, hey, these are the consequences if one had participated in this, or the knowledge spread could cause contradictions, or not even allowing others to then speak first and to engage them and enrich you into their culture and religious and beliefs, to not ever really have a place for them to keep that in their history or logs shows how you believe yourself more important than you really do, uh, than acknowledging others, because it's like, oh, my religion is so great. Like I want people to be able to say their culture and have it written down and speak about it without it destroying or at least documenting properly what they had before then and how they even came to that conclusion. It's like, oh, I'm helping them not be backwards so I can write it down. Why couldn't you just help them write down what they had before and preach and spread that? Well, it's wrong. What made it wrong? I don't know. It's not the right one. It's like I know I'm making it sound one sided, but I feel like that for the majority, kind of goes like that. I feel like even some of the religious in this spiritual realm will become um, I say will continue down the road of narcissism. Some refusing to acknowledge what they've done, doubling down, pretending to be the holy figure, to allow themselves vindication and validation, to say, see, look at what we've done, and I've made this holy thing, but they cannot take that away. Like once they make a move and they've done something, they cannot remove it. So, and people acknowledge that you would use your own energy and your time giving into existence. I believe like that's fundamentally what would happen. That people would stop existing in that world because they would choose to stop existing, giving their life energy back into the storyline, but to never exist again. It'd be so they can document these mystical things, these adventures, to be heroes, to live all that they want. And I think it's more so not to not as a punishment, but as the pleasure. You know, they get to be what they truly wanted to be, the God, the miracle. Like someone might sacrifice their lives to save a plane, or to do something that no one really knew, maybe only one person, to make them believe. And they truly wanted to just be that good person, and they did it. They said, "Oh, thank you." They were the blessing, and they don't need to exist anymore. Like no one needs to really talk. Like you could see the other people in the other world can see what they've done. They can see the action. They can't communicate with them or stop them. So it's like ghost watching ghost. But I think that it's also very clear. Like, hey, that's why that happened. I was always curious about that. I think it adds a little bit of escape. Like, I think of it as good writing. Instead of like, it chalks up to that felt so much like a coincidence. Like the odds of that happening felt so low. Yeah, I'd say that it kind of explains it. You know, um, though I could possibly be wrong, and this has no basis in scientific that could be explained. But yeah, I would say that it make for something very neat. That doesn't have to be. Like, it, it works. Though what I would get out of it, I don't know. Even in this, like I would say that if I'm right, or if that were to be true, I wouldn't know what really would come of it. Should people know? Should people not know? Would I affect my own thing and boost it? But if so, I think it would take away the life that I actually would like to live, or in the way that it would I would like to live, or maybe not. I don't know. Even even myself cannot think of what to do with myself. But who knows what to think. With that being said, I'm done.